Global Politics, Myths and Mysteries is a new textbook from Oxford University Press. In this video, the authors will introduce you to the textbook and give you an outline of its key features and arguments.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Aggie Hurst, and I am a reader in International Relations Theory and Methods at King's College London.
My name is Diego Demeric, and I'm Senior Lecturer in Politics and International Relations at Queen Mary, University of London.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joe Hoover. I'm a reader in Political Theory at Queen Mary, University of London.
Hello everyone, I am Roberto Rocco and I work as a reader in International Political Economy in the Department of European and International Studies at King's College London.
Myths and Mysteries came about when we as junior scholars started to teach international relations theory and political theory directly out of our PhDs. We were struck in those early teaching experiences about the extent to which students could find it difficult to engage with theory when it was presented as a list of isms: realism, liberalism, feminism, post-colonialism, and so on. There were two big problems with this approach. First of all, it takes theory as a list of ready-made isms that students are then obliged to choose between. And what we deduced was that this actually takes the thinking out of theory. It takes the thinking of theory out of students' hands and confines it to historical or scholarly figures. And this consequently makes theory feel far away, distant, in the hands of philosophers or professors, rather than open to us all. So Global Politics, Myths and Mysteries really is our solution to this problem. We began, when we were producing Myths and Mysteries, to think about the question of what motivates students to study IR and global politics. Oftentimes students want to understand something about the world, but also they want to have a hand in changing it. Politics, of course, is not a spectator sport. It's not a hypothetical discipline, but rather something we're all located in. So what we decided to do in Myths and Mysteries is try to think about a series of questions, of puzzles, really that sit at the heart of why students might be interested in studying global politics. Now, we decided to organise the book through a series of mysteries. And by mysteries, what we mean is a kind of puzzle or an unresolved question about some aspect of global politics. By myth, what we mean is the stories or narratives that circulate in order to make sense of these mysteries. So what we seek to do in the book is to enable you to identify and to think about the myths that structure global politics, but also that structure your own thinking. What we want to do is cultivate your critical thinking skills so that you can become a more active and engaged theorizer of global politics yourself. So theory, in our view, is not the ideas, the writings of long-dead philosophers. Rather, it's a practical, reflexive approach to thinking about the world and your own understandings of it. So what we do in the book is we explore 8 such mysteries and the myths that circulate to make sense of them. So our aim throughout this book is to facilitate you becoming a critical theorist of global politics and an independent thinker in your own right.
The idea of everyday experience is at the heart of the book. We do this because we want you to think about theory as it relates to your own life and your own experience. Each of us knows something about politics. Often what you know about politics comes from your family, your friends, your school, maybe religious leaders, maybe celebrities you follow. We're surrounded by politics in the world, and we all pick that up. But you're also surrounded by politics in a wider social sense. There are persistent questions we have about politics, the mysteries that we talk about in the book, and there are persistent myths that answer some of those mysteries, oftentimes in ways that are problematic, and that's at the core of the book. In Chapter 1, we address the topic of politics itself, and the myth that we use to structure that chapter is the idea that there is some natural or given order to the world. You might be familiar with this via cliches like everybody is naturally selfish, therefore you have to have a competitive economic system, or that if you don't have strong government authorities, then there'll be social chaos and disorder, right? And it's this sort of idea that there is a natural structure to the world that we see as inimical, in a sense, to politics as an activity, but also to understanding the political world. It won't do to presume that there is some fixed and final way the world really is. So in the chapter, we talk not only about politics, but about what it means to theorize politics. And the key idea we develop in the chapter is a contrast between what we might think of as politics versus the political, with politics referring to the existing arrangement of institutions and social and economic power that give the world the structure that it has. Theory can help us understand what that structure is, where it comes from, how it changes, why it changes. The other concept, the political, is about the idea that we can change the world, the political world around us, that when people work together collectively, we can actually change institutions, we can reshape social practices, we can actually kind of remake the world through collective action. And so in that chapter we explore that dynamic, the world of politics, what is, what's been established, and political, thinking about what change is possible, and how theory helps us understand both of those elements of political life.
A very powerful myth that often shapes how we first encounter money in our studies is that the origins of money are to be found in the limitations of the barter system. In a world without money, we are told, if I need flour to bake bread, I have to hope that the miller is willing to purchase the wood that I can provide in exchange for their flour. Money allows us to circumvent this double coincidence of wants, as economists call it. This account is intuitive enough. It is also historically inaccurate, though, as demonstrated by ample literature in economic anthropology, showing that money first emerged as a way of recording debts. While this myth of origin captures the ability of money to allow exchanges to happen even between people who do not have the same wants, and in fact might not even know each other, it is problematic insofar as it presents money as a neutral instrument to mediate economic exchange and as emerging naturally from the needs of society. However, it is increasingly accepted that coinage, so the physical minting of money, was originally associated with the establishment, consolidation, and expansion of kingdoms, principalities, and empires, which typically relied on violent practices, including, for instance, looting, but also the displacement and enslavement of populations. Centering this element helps us to think of how, since its origins, money has been deeply intertwined with violence and power, two of the other concepts that we cover in this book. Violence, power, and empires have also been central to the emergence of capitalism as the system organizing the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services that governs our economic lives, but goes well beyond those, reaching deep into the organization of family life, including, for instance, with respect to child rearing. As, after all, today's kids are meant to be tomorrow's workers and consumers. Understanding capitalism, then, is useful not only in and of itself, but also because it helps us understand and address issues such as inequality and the climate crisis, which are among the biggest challenges that will keep students and practitioners of global politics busy in the coming years and decades.
So, one of the biggest myths we seek to dispel in the book is actually a cluster of closely related myths. This includes the primacy that we give to the state, or seeing the state as the central object of political analysis, along with a few related myths, like the eternal, almost epic battle between sovereignty and anarchy that we're told states engage in, the conflation of politics with power, or realpolitik, and the social contract foundations of contemporary statehood, to name but a few. Within this cluster, the treaties of Westphalia and World War I are often presented as Big Bang events for our discipline, having ushered in, we're told, the modern state and modern state system, respectively. But the knock-on effect of placing the state on such a high pedestal is in how it diminishes the relative importance we then give to other deeply human, social, and therefore inherently political practices, like ethics. So we tease apart this cluster, firstly by presenting the state to you at the very end of the book. So you'll have had ample opportunity to explore the politics which often occurs despite, and not because of the state. In so doing, we invite you to reimagine the social contract not as the origin of the modern state, but rather as an ongoing project of reasoned debate and social practice whose aim is to highlight the shared rights, responsibilities, and collective ambitions that we hold with and for one another. Rather than view ethics and morality as separate from politics, like Machiavelli, we explore various global ethical traditions to show how political decisions are always imbued with some form of ethical consideration. After all, a world in which the Pachamama, or Mother Earth, is protected with legal status, as it is in the Bolivian and Ecuadorian constitutions, or in which the Wanganui, Ganges, and Yamuna rivers are said to hold a form of personhood, and therefore human rights, by the New Zealand and Indian Supreme Courts, is a world in which ethics and morality play an integral role in our politics. By demystifying these global ethical traditions, Ubuntu, Summa Causa, care ethics, and consequentialism, to name only a few, and by recasting the state as a subject rather than the object of international relations, we begin to better appreciate how rich the possibilities are for this complex political world that we all inhabit. It's not simply, as Alex Wendt once put it, that anarchy is what states make of it. It's also that states, and their underlying processes, functions, duties, and related concepts, like ethics, are what we make of them.
We aim in the conclusion of the textbook to really think about how theory as a verb enables us to notice and to operationalize the extent to which how we think has a really great bearing on how we act. So we hope that through our explorations of theory in this book, we can enable you and empower you to act according to your commitments, your views, your beliefs in global politics. We hope that our explorations across politics, power, empire, ethics, law, the state, money, and beyond, engaged with questions and puzzles that are of interest to you as you begin to study global politics,